Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where it's all about helping you complete your financial journey to retirement. Discover time-tested strategies and get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Break away from the herd and go for the retirement you dream of. And now, here's your host, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, back on Personal Pension Radio. This is a short episode of Personal Pension Radio, still here in the Personal Pension Radio Workshop in Southern California. Many different projects going on right now. I got an email back after my last episode. What were you working on? Well, I actually repaired the chain link fence for the neighbor over the weekend. I built two custom-made, they're way down at the end of the shop there, custom-made valances for my sliding glass doors in my living room, and I actually finished rebuilding the carburetor on my 1982 Toyota Celica that I have with a group of guys that we're going to race it in the 24 hours of lemons. So I finished putting that back together, started the car up, drove it around the block. Kind of crazy. Yeah, I did that. So that, and I took a quick quarantine self-isolation trip to a local area to get my truck dirty. Myself and a few other people went out. We all stayed social distancing in our vehicles and got my truck completely dirty, lots of mud all over it, came back, hosed it off. So that's the kind of stuff that I've been working on here pretty much right around my little area in Norco, California. Today, I actually wanted to just do a quick episode, though. This question has come up multiple times, and I had a bit of a rant, if you will, that just popped into my head. And so this is, bear with me for a minute. It's this idea of college degrees, college education. And it really popped into my head because I've been talking with my daughter, Madeline, who is in Flagstaff, Arizona. She has been at Northern Arizona University, and thankfully, she's been doing all right. She's actually been able to continue to economically survive and then keep her school moving forward. She's basically the last person that has been kept on at her job because it was necessary to have someone there. So she's actually been okay. The reason I got all excited and wanted to record this episode is this idea of just college in general. College in general is, I'm just going to say it, in so many situations, it is an enormous waste of money, an enormous waste of time, an enormous waste of money. College today has become it's just become comical how ridiculous college is. And this is anecdotal, if you will, from my perspective with a daughter off at college, but I've talked to other parents that have experienced similar things, right? There's only a handful relative to all the positions available in jobs and careers in the world. There's only a handful of really highly skilled professions where a college matters as much anymore, right? It doesn't matter as much as it used to. It absolutely don't. It doesn't. You want to be a lawyer? Okay, I'm a paralegal at a law firm, right? You want to be a lawyer? Fine. Do you have to go to Harvard or Stanford Law to actually become a lawyer? No. If you want to have a highly prestigious law firm that has an alumni association largely driven by Harvard, Yale, Stanford, etc., yeah, maybe you might need to go to Stanford or Harvard so that you could get in that particular queue. You might have family members, that maybe. But I can't tell you how many times I have met really highly successful lawyers that did not go to anywhere near an Ivy League law school. Because truth be told, Bar Association gives you the bar exam wherever you are, regardless of what law school you went to. You want to be a doctor? You don't need to waste your money on Ivy League schools to go get your medical degree. You really don't. There's so many schools around the United States today that offer a medical education that when you come back to really look at what's important, it's your network. It is your network that is most important. Who are you connected with on LinkedIn, Facebook, social media in general? Who do you know who knows who knows who knows? That is the most critical thing. You want to be a doctor? Great. You go to Harvard Medical School and get a medical degree. So what? If you don't know the right people, if you don't have the right network, you're going to come in with very similar entry-level positions, and you'll basically be another slave labor doctor working your tail off. The only difference is you'll have massive amounts of debt, okay? That is important to remember, folks, that the medical profession, they need doctors, absolutely, but they also need nurses. My daughter, thankfully, has been in the medical sciences track as a CNA or as a physician's assistant. That is actually a track where the medical field needs those positions, right? Here's the thing. Academic inflation rate. That is a term you've got. If you're a parent out there with a student coming up into that college age, you've got to hear me. Academic inflation rate in the U.S. has made higher education less valuable. It's just basic economics, folks. Think about this. In the 1970s, 26% of workers had an education past high school. 26%. Today, 60% or more of all jobs are requiring some form of higher education. So what that mean? More and more and more and more and more kids going to college. More and more kids getting a college degree means your college degree is worth less and less and less. Not worthless, just worth less. Your college degree is worth less when more and more and more and more people have a college degree. It doesn't matter as much. It really just doesn't matter as much. A college degree does not equate to safety. It used to be this safety net. Get a college degree and you're all set. Here's the thing. Less than half of graduates in their mid-20s are working at a job that requires a degree. Less than half are working at a job that requires a degree, for crying out loud. That's crazy, right? And if you look at bachelor degree grads, so bachelor degree grads have an unemployment rate before the coronavirus crisis, an unemployment rate of about 9%. Bachelor degree grads, 9% unemployment rate, and those numbers have got to be crazy high after the coronavirus situation, right? And here's the part. This is the part that got me on this rant to begin with. College professors, if you're listening to this, which you probably aren't because, let's just face it, you're probably not, right? Because you have tenure, so you don't care about, financial stuff because you're hooked up for life. Professors don't care about your kids' education. They don't. Now, that's not all professors. I'm sure that there is a percentage. Down here low, can you see the little tiny percentage? There's a percentage of college professors that care. But nowadays, so many of them care more about tenure. Tenure is the critical thing that people care about, okay? If only half of what my daughter tells me about her college professors over the last several years, if only half of it's true, because let's face it, she's 20-something years old. I'm going to dismiss some of that as just, her being a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old or a 22-year-old. But if even half of her stories are true about the way her professors treat her overall classmates, just in general, the way they are flippant, the way they are rude, the way they're just absolutely don't give a, let's just say it, they don't care. Okay? They just don't. So even if half of her stories are true, it's disgusting. It's absolutely deplorable that my daughter is at a college where she's had this many experiences over the course of the last 3 years or so that we could come back to and say, that's insane that a professor would behave that way for the amount of money that we're spending on her to be there. Unbelievable. All right. Calm down. Okay. All of that now leads me to this idea that with the coronavirus, this whole pandemic out there, it's really important to shine this light on what is truly important about career planning for our kids, right? Being ready for jobs in the future. Our kids today, even our adult kids, on how they're going to transition, how they're going to actually make their way going forward, might want to have a conversation with the kids about essential jobs, right? Never really heard that very often, but this coronavirus, you're hearing about it all the time. Those jobs, those careers that are essential, that the government has mandated that certain positions are essential. If you don't know what they are in your state, Google it, right? In California, some of the essential jobs. So when you're talking to your kids about job security, future security, like what happens when the next thing jumps out of, some foreign country or in our own country with some crazy virus again and shuts this place down? What are the essential jobs that don't stop ticking? Doctors and nurses. Oh, thank goodness Madeline is on the right track with that. I'm so excited. That's happy. This makes me happy, right? How about this, though? Plumbers, electricians, pest control, sewage treatment plants. People think sewage treatment plants, that's gross. Well, guess what? Sewage treatment plants are some of the cleanest places you can work, and you need to be an engineer, and that's where a degree actually could make you money and give you job security, right? But pest control was one that a lot of folks didn't think of. You've got to take care of public safety and public health. Police and fire, of course. Police officers, fire personnel, critically important, essential. Food and agriculture, farmers, trucking, logistics, the oil business. Funny enough, here's an interesting thing. This is just me, a little side note. The oil and petroleum business was on the list of essential, California jobs. I didn't see it. Maybe I could search for it, but what wasn't there? Solar power. Solar power wasn't there. Solar power is more of an experimental alternative energy source. What was written down in black and white on the California regulations was oil production, oil refinery, gas stations, those types of things, essential, right? Auto mechanics. Here's the one I joke about with my daughter all the time, welders. I told my daughter a long time ago that welders, skilled welders, in the future, this was now going back 5, 6, 7 years ago, I said, Madeline, mark my words, skilled welders, fabricators, people who can repair things, heavy industry, that kind of stuff, they're going to make more money than doctors. Entry-level doctors actually, in many cases, make less money than a skilled welder. That's true, folks, right? So welders, mechanics, aerospace technicians, aerospace mechanics. Now, that requires a degree. When you're looking at college and going to get a degree, is that degree going to put you into a career path that is deemed essential? That no matter what, it won't stop. Okay? No offense to basketball players, football players, et cetera, that's not an essential job. And therefore, all of those positions are closed. All of those soccer players, football players, all of those baseball players, whatever basketball players, they're all on the sidelines. The part that really bugs me, that worries me, is that all of the support people that work for that team or that stadium, they are all furloughed, and many of them, I'm sure, have lost their jobs. That's tough. But when you're having these conversations with your kids about career path, think about it now from a perspective of, is that job essential? Is it going to be essential? Are you going to be in the communications industry, the IT business? Oh, the IT business, computer technology, remote work, all of that type of, those businesses are booming today. They are booming. That's critical stuff. The defense industry is another one. That is a conversation that I'm glad I don't have to have with my daughter. My daughter is on a career path, almost done with college. Oh, this college experience has been just trying for me to listen to her tell me the stories of her experience in college. It's just ridiculous. It is not the way it was 20 or 30 years ago at all. It's just not the same. That's the reality. It's just not the same. So let's take some good away from this conversation. Let's take some good and do something with it productive. Do something productive with it. Might I consider having a conversation with your student who's in college, your student who's coming up towards college, even your student that's almost finished with college, right? That's almost actually finished. And ask them, is your career on the essential list? If you had to be out in the world right now working, would your job be closed? Would you still be working? Right? You've got to ask that question, because in today's connected world is just that. The next virus could come from Mexico, could come from the United States, could come from China. And everybody's flying all over the world nowadays. You never know which direction the next calamity is coming from. And you've got to ask yourself, to yourself, your students, your kids, if this happened and you were already out in the workforce working, would you have a job? Would you actually have a job that you could continue getting paid for? And the answer in so many cases is no. It's no. And if that's the case, fine. And you really want to go in that same direction that you're on with your career path, and you really want to keep going down that path, then the next logical question would be, okay, how would you deal with this economic calamity if you were on that career path that you just insist on staying on? How are you going to make it through 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months? How are you going to make it through the 18 to 24 months of economic turmoil that will ripple out from all of this, right? How are you going to do that? That's a great conversation to have as we're all self-quarantining and getting through this coronavirus. This will pass. And if you would like to talk about your situation, heck, if you'd like to have a conference call with me and your college student, please send me an email, Kraig with a K at kraigstrom.com, KraigStrom.com, Kraig with a K at kraigstrom.com. I'll talk to you again real soon, folks. Thanks as always. Be well out there. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Don't forget that part. You're so busy. Most people are taking care of other people. Don't forget to take good care of yourself. Bye for now. Talk to you again later.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we would appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening. Now for the disclosure. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not intended for solicitation, sale or purchase of any security or financial product. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and your tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. The term personal pension refers to a marketing name designed to educate future retirees and retirees about the economic principles behind creating their own pension-like income. The term personal pension is not intended to be confused with a defined benefit pension plan offered by an employer or by a government entity.